Okay.
All right, and I'm going to set up as best I can.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Lisa and I are getting this thing going. Sorry, we're just a couple of minutes late. Well, 8 minutes late. I'm sorry.
I take responsibility for it. I totally do.
It's both of our faults. We got busy talking about something, and
Yep.
it's both of our faults.
Okay, I'm charging up I got my computer here. I'm going to come on. Now that when I do that, I have to take the volume off of this. So let me do that. Should I do that now? I guess I should, right?
Yeah, go ahead and turn the volume down on whichever one.
Okay.
You're using your computer and your phone?
Yeah, I'm gonna my phone doesn't have to have the sound because it's just showing the picture, right?
Right.
Now I don't know. Oh, look what I just did. I almost knocked it over. All right. I don't know if it's showing it either. I can't see, but I will in a minute.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay.
So yeah, there's a way on there to stop the volume or the mute the mic on one of them. And
oh, so you mean, in other words, don't use my phone. Mute the mic on here. You're right. Oh, I see mic.
That cuts off your mic, and then you're going to want to turn your volume all the way down too on whichever one you're not going to be talking into. Hi, everyone. Let me get my phone in YouTube, and we'll get this thing started really quick. Well, maybe not really, really quick, but pretty quick. Hi, Jelly Bean Nurse. Hi, Mandy Hall. Hi, Dandy Bee. Hi, Tonda. Lollipop Guild, Denise C. Muppets and Manilow, Big Mama. Deb on the Move, Roxy. Ladybug Toes, I love that name. Jackie Burns. Honey Hush. Barbara B. Let's see, Wonderland Alice. I said hi to Tonda. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. I'm trying to go back through the list here. Hi, Aurora. Hi, Teresa, Elvis, Mighty Cat, Vicky, Kids Galore. Tracy.
I have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah?
When I try to go into Streamlabs on my laptop, it says that my laptop doesn't support Streamlabs unless I use Chrome, which I have Chrome already on here.
Uh-huh.
So why would it not support it?
I don't know.
Telling me to download Chrome. I already have Chrome on the machine.
You should be able to go through Safari.
I know. It won't, let me try it all over again.
Okay.
Browser-based live studio for professionals. Okay. Click on it. Gary said he would come in and take a look at it, but I didn't want him to have to do that.
No.
Do it myself.
If nothing else, we could use the iPad if nothing else works. And I've also gone into StreamYards using Facebook before.
Waste time. That's my problem. Let me see. But I really wanted to use my laptop, but
okay.
I don't have to. Okay.
No, that's fine. We've got time. Hi, Denise C.
No, let's do that.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm not going to waste time. All right. Streamline. Allow. Enter studio.
Okay. Here we go.
All right. Shutting the volume on the phone. You could still hear me this way, right?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Let's not waste any time.
Okay.
Now that my phone is still not going completely silent. I don't know why. The phone usually will. Let me see that now. Now it's better.
Okay.
And I'll just shut down my computer. I'll ask Gina because I'm pretty new to Apple computers. So if I have a problem, I'll usually ask her, but I'm not going to ask her now.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's see. I don't know if anybody downloaded this.
I've got it on my phone,
this
but
way?
yeah, right. Just scoot it
Let me
more
make this
towards
volume louder.
the right.
I was hoping that everybody would be able to print this out first. It looks kind of small, though. Gary, this looks so small for people to see. This handout.
Well, you shouldn't be doing it that way.
It's
Well, I
okay.
know, but this is the best we have, honey. Best way.
It's okay. You can see
There's
it
no way to
there.
you share something on the screen there with that.
For me to share it, I don't know. I never did this before.
I'm not quite sure how to do that through StreamYards.
Hold on.
Let's let him look. He's looking, studying it.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
That's why I was doing it this way, because I don't know how to do that. Let me get a tissue. Hold on.
No option to share the screen, huh?
Yes, there is on my end.
Don't try to do that.
Let me do share
But
screen.
But you're.
Now, where's the button to share screen, though? Where is it?
She has the controls over the stream.
Oh, because she started it?
Can you open the PDF of her the presentation that I sent you?
I might be able to from my phone.
No, on the computer that you're streaming with.
Let me see if I can get in my email. I've been having problems.
I'm making her do
Well,
so much.
that's the best way to do it.
I know, but she's got a lot on her plate.
Let me see if I can get my email open.
Then do it on yours. I mean,
Hold on.
All right, so go on
It's
mine.
a dumb way of doing it.
All right, let
It's
him
a
look on the
lower
laptop.
resolution.
He'll look on the laptop. Let's go check out the laptop.
How do you open this?
It goes like this.
Is there a button?
Where the points toward the leaf is the way you open it. But here's the thing, honey. When I tried to download Streamlabs, it said that it wouldn't support it.
Streaming. Just open up your email.
All right, well, just do it.
Where's your email?
Right over there. That's what I did. I opened up my email and I went to it.
Where's the?
Oh no, it's in it. I'm sorry, it's a text message she sent.
No, I'm not talking to her. Where's the
I don't know
your
what you're
Gmail?
talking about.
I emailed the presentation to your Gmail as well.
Oh, okay.
Where is
Well,
that?
I didn't know that. I hate that when I don't know what you mean. Hold on.
Hey, Lisa,
Yeah.
is there a way
Which
to
Gmail?
put that presentation in Slack?
Would that make it easier for you?
Yeah, I might be able to do it from there.
Like the link for it, or?
Yeah, like what you sent me in the
All right,
email.
Copy it. Well, first of all, get into your Gmail.
Which one is that's? Is this mine? You sent it to me also?
Yes.
I've got a new computer and it's not, my email's not working with my new computer.
Okay.
All inboxes. Did you send it to my professional one or the BC one?
Yeah. That's out online. It says.
Yeah, I know. So is it all together, I guess?
It was just about an hour ago, so I can't view all these emails.
I don't know where it is then. All sent, all draft. I don't want to make people wait so long.
Wait, well, how do you get your kid's first email?
It's usually there. I don't see it now though. I don't know why. iCloud. Hey, wait a minute. It's probably on my phone
I don't need it on your phone.
or on my iPad. But I just feel bad that everybody's just sitting there.
You know, we don't have to have the slides.
Yeah, let me
Yes,
just
you do,
start.
you do.
Let me just start. I could just go like this. This is the slide.
Yep.
Here's the
You could
slide,
just-
okay?
No, I mean, that's.
But I could start and then we
No.
could gradually have the slides, okay? You work on that and I'll start. because I
Okay.
don't want to waste time on people. All right. So the first, now let me just explain something, okay?
I need to
'Cause
introduce
this
you.
is, oh, I forgot. Tell them
This
who I
is
am.
this
Go
is
ahead.
Lisa D,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
And she's a clinical psychologist.
Oh my God. No, I'm
Is
not.
that you're
No,
you're not?
I'll tell them
Yes,
what
you
I
are.
do.
You're a psychologist.
I can't see you guys. Why is that doing that? Okay, I'm a school psychologist, right? Why am I not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a school psychologist in New York State, right? I'm certified in that, and then I am also a applied behavior analyst. So I have two roles depending on what job I would be doing. So as a behavior analyst, I would work in schools, right? Getting hired to work with children that were having the most difficulties with their behaviors, right? That they would have a lot of trouble remaining in school due to their behaviors. So I would get hired as an independent contractor and go into the school and work with the children and change their behaviors so that they could stay in school instead of having to go out to be like taught in a special school, things of that nature. So I kind of got the kids that were the most difficult to work with. And that's why I love the job so much, because I love making the kids better. I love showing up and having a kid that's struggling, about to be sort of moved out, and then being able to make a difference and have them stay in school. And I've always enjoyed that, being that one person. Hey, hi, Gak.
I don't want to be
So
honest.
that's okay. It was nice seeing you, though. So half my career was, I would say 1/3 of my career was working as a school psychologist, and 2/3 of my career was working as an applied behavior analyst. I'm also a licensed behavior analyst in the state of New York, but my applied behavior analyst certification is international. So I could work all over the world if I wanted to. And a lot of behavior analysts do that. They work all over the world. I don't. I'm a homebody. I've only really worked in school districts on Long Island where I live. So anyway, that's my background, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a framework of behavior to explain how and why people behave a certain way. But I want to really present the mindset, and I know it's going to sound weird, by putting feelings aside, because when you're really analyzing behavior, you're really analyzing actions and reactions to behavior in what we call shaping a behavior to occur, or shaping it to not occur, to get it to stop when it's really intrusive in a kid's life or even an adult's life. So the other thing is I wanted to mention is that a lot of applied behavior analysts work with animals, and they work only with animals. So and then also some behavior analysts work in the occupational realm, and they work in the job, in the area of job production and productivity of employees, and that's a very, very big part of the field. So applied behavior analysts can work in many different areas besides working with children. The field really became more prominent in working with autistic children with autism, but really behavior analysts can pretty much work with anyone. It's a very versatile field. So I just wanted to add that because there's some really cool books that were written to train animals and things of that nature. So it's kind of interesting where you could go if you wanted to go into this field. You could branch out into a lot of different areas. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. And it is a fun job. It's very challenging and technical, but it's really fun. So anyway, on the first page, I talked about some goals, and I think we have to always keep in mind that what we want to do is we want to improve children's behavioral functioning and make them as well adjusted and functional as possible. And what we're assuming is that in the family life, right, it's a microcosm of the broader world. Now, here's the thing, though. I think that we used to be able to say that more in the past because culturally, and Nana Patty and I were talking about this today. Now, like, it used to be that, like, when you were raised in a family, it was more of a microcosm of what you could expect to experience out in the real world. But now the real world is a little bit crazy. But nevertheless, the home and the family is where the child learns what's appropriate behavior, what's not, or they should be learning those things. And that's how they learn to cope with the consequences of behavior, right? If you don't have to experience the consequences of things, positive and negative, right, you never really learn how to cope. And I've seen that a lot with kids where they don't really, they get very sheltered in in family life, and they don't have to really ever experience that feeling of not getting what they ask for, or being told to stop doing something, or having a rule imposed, because it's what we have now is a much more permissive parenting style that's happening in our culture, and it's been going on for a while, right? I think we've all seen that, and we're going to talk more about that because eventually I want everybody to come up with some examples of things that they're seeing and behaviors that interest them in their lives that we could talk about. But I want to give you a framework of where I'm coming from. Okay?
How do you get back to
What'd you say?
How do you get back to the StreamYard?
Oh, so you put in my name. Wait, what's that email? Log into your account.
How'd you start it?
I started by touching the. I'll show you.
Text or?
She gave me the text, and then I touched that button, right there. I like having an email. Okay. Now I go into. I'm on page 2. If you have the handout, there's 3 slides, and it says.
Don't think I gave them the handout. I didn't have it to put in the community post, so I didn't get it in there.
All right. They could get it later. It's okay.
Yeah.
This is what
we'll put it in
like
there
right here.
Okay,
it's all right. They could get it later. It's fine. I'm going to say what I'm going to say anyway. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about childhood, early development of children, right? And I just wanted to make a few points about development, right? As a framework. We know that kids are not blank slates when they're born, right? They have a certain personality type and tendencies to behave a certain way. And they come into the world, right, with tendencies that either make certain things pleasurable to them or not pleasurable. And we all have that. We're born, we have things that make us feel good and things that make us feel not so good, right? Notice that I'm not really saying the word like and not like. I'm talking about things that make you feel pleasurable and not pleasurable. And I'm using those words on purpose because I want to really bring in a mindset for everyone, okay? And that's going to help you because when you, in your own situations, you're going to carry that mindset with you in your life when you're thinking about behaviors of kids and young adults or even big adults when you're trying to figure out why they do what they do. You'll have this framework in your mind, okay? Also, the premise of the behavioral framework is that behaviors are learned, that we learn all the behaviors that we exhibit, right? And we learn them based on what happens in the environment, what happens before the behavior and what happens afterward. And that's what shapes what we do, believe it or not. We do what we find pleasurable and we avoid things that we don't find pleasurable. And we don't even know it, that we're doing it, right? We just don't even know. It's happening to us all the time. That's what shapes our behavior every day. And it makes sense, right? You're not going to do things that you don't find rewarding or pleasurable in some sense. Or you could even behave a certain way to relieve a negative state, which is another principle I'll talk about. Like, I'll give you an example. It's just a real dumb one, but you get a headache, right? And in order to stop the headache, you go and get yourself some Tylenol or Advil or something. That is a behavior that you're doing to get rid of a state of negativity, right? You have the pain, you get up, you go get the Tylenol, you take the Tylenol to get rid of the headache, right? That's another behavioral principle, right? It's not that you're doing something that's good, that makes you feel good, like getting the Tylenol and holding it isn't making you feel better, but you know that when you take it, you're going to get rid of that headache, right?
Ask her if she can put Lisa your other stream on.
Okay. Anna Patty, could you put my other stream on?
I think I'm sideways, not vertical.
Gary's
it went away.
It went away.
Oh.
You have to call back, bring it back on.
Oh yeah.
How am I doing so far, Nana Patty?
You're doing good. Somebody
was I don't want to be boring. All right, I'm going to go a little bit faster, okay?
It should be.
Somebody was mentioning something about autism.
Yeah, I'm going into some special needs areas now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then maybe
I gotta hit the enter button.
what?
Okay.
I gotta hit the enter button.
Okay. I think that's an important. Oh, good, Gar. That looks nice.
Yeah, that's great right there.
All right. So I'm on page. I knew he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's my tech guy.
Well,
Yeah.
this is not the right way to do it.
Well,
It works.
it's. I knew you would do it somehow.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Now, how do
Perfect.
I go to the next slide?
Page.
Oh, I see. I see it.
Where's the plug for this thing?
That's got the That's it. That's it. Right. It's fully charged though.
Oh.
I fully charged
Well,
it this morning.
it goes dim like if you don't touch it in a certain time.
Okay.
So
No, there's only 2 on the other side.
is it for this?
Yeah. Okay. Now, can you bring it a little closer to me? Now, because now I won't have to look at this. I could look at that, right?
I think you could do it with the mouse.
Oh no, where did they go?
Oh, this is on your iPad?
It's on the no. It was on. If it's too close to the iPad, it uses the iPad. It can't be too close. All right. So.
Well, go back to your.
Okay. All right. What page was I up to? Yeah, I'm going to talk about special needs kids because I think this is very important. And then I want to know. Okay. All right. So, just can you get me to the page where I am? On the handout, on the things, I'm on
Just hit it down.
page. What?
Just hit the up and down ones.
Oh. All right. Hold on. Here we go. Okay. This is good. Now everybody can see what I'm going to be talking about. Okay. Thank
That's
you,
perfect.
Dad.
Thank you, Gary.
Now, when I talk about special needs kids, this includes kids with autism. Okay. Developmental growth needs to be promoted. This is an important concept because when you have a typically developing child, right, they cannot help but develop developmentally. They always seek to advance to the next stage of development. It's like a little 2-year-old that pushes your hand away and says, no, I can do it myself. They're always striving to develop along that trajectory. Even though a typically developing child does things on their own timetable, it's not universally that children do things at the same time, but a child with developmental problems, any developmental problem, they are more likely to need to be pulled toward developmental milestones. What I'm trying to say is they have more difficulty reaching those developmental milestones than a typically developing child, and that includes maturity. So you're pulling them along more when they're developing, and that has behavioral consequences because I always bring that up because when you're changing the behavior of a child of any age, you're not really changing the behavior. The way you're treating them based on their behavior, not their age. And that's more likely to happen with a child on the spectrum, or even another child with some sort of developmental problem. That you'll have to remind yourself at times that you're going to have to see what that behavior looks like and respond accordingly, because you could have a 15-year-old who's exhibiting a behavior of a 5-year-old. And you'll have to manage it like they're 5, even though chronologically they're 15. So I always add that in there because if you have a 15-year-old that's exhibiting like a 5-year-old's behavior or a 10-year-old, you might be hesitant to do it or know how to handle it because then in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh my gosh, he or she is like 15, I don't know, it's like an awkward thing. 9 times out of 10 though, that child's not going to know it's awkward. All they're going to know is how you're handling it. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's a very important point to keep in the back of your mind, that developmentally, those children need to be brought through developmental stages rather than having that trajectory happen naturally. And that will have a consequence on how you handle those behaviors. Even a typically developing kid will revert back to, behaviors that they exhibited when they were younger at times. And you'll always remember, treat the behavior, the age of the behavior, and respond to it that way, not the age of the child. So that's important. We'll talk more about that. Let's see. And we have to remember that with special needs kids, we have to be more careful because some negative behaviors will remain throughout their life. So without intervention, they'll stay. They're more likely to stay like that than a typically developing kid. And then I always put this blending life skills and growth and independence are top priorities, right? And here's another thing, and I know everybody's seen examples of this. Like you'll have like you could have a child that maybe they're on the spectrum and they're very, very advanced, or even if they're not. I've seen a lot of kids that could be really gifted kids, not on the spectrum or anything, but really gifted and be very immature socially, very immature. So there's a lot of mismatch sometimes. So we have to be aware of that with any population of kids, or even a typically developing kid. You can see that sometimes. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And this is what I'm trying to do, is give you guys sort of the background knowledge so that when you're doing things to help your kids or your grandkids, you'll always have this kind of in the back of your mind. Okay? And I always throw this into inclusion isn't always the best option for special needs kids or even children on the autism spectrum. And I shock a lot of people when I say that. But maybe we could have a longer discussion about that. But I put that in there because in the end, sometimes kids, when they're in inclusion and they have to stick to the curriculum of the typical child, they miss out on things that they really, really need and then could use more of, like life skills and things of that nature. So they'll come out of school and they'll have like some pretty cool facts under their belt, but they'll never use them. But they have to, if they stay in an inclusion class situation, they're exposed to things that, okay, it was nice that they got to stay with their peers, but when they get out of school, they don't have the skills that they need to really live. So I always throw that in there, and we could have a discussion about that anytime anybody wants to bring it up. We could talk more about my experience with that. I have a lot of experience watching kids in classrooms for years and really observing what goes on in different types of classrooms with different types of kids and in different types of schools. Inappropriate behaviors seem to generalize more readily than appropriate ones with special needs kids, because and this is the phenomenon is very interesting, because even when you build in some appropriate behaviors for kids, right, and you change behaviors, you by and large have to continue to work on those behaviors, but the inappropriate ones will stay, and they'll be more difficult to get rid of as time goes on, because those are the things that a child might find more pleasurable in a sensory way. They're giving them pleasure in some way, so they sort of like they generalize to other situations in life, and they're more likely to keep them. So that's another thing that we have to really be aware of, that inappropriate things stay, appropriate things, when you teach them, they leave. You have to keep working on them. So those are the tendencies that I've seen through the years with kids, and we have to keep that in mind, that even when we change a behavior, right, we're going to keep, you could change a behavior and eliminate something really negative, right? But the science of behavior says that behavior will rebound occasionally, and you'll have to deal with it every once in a while, and that's normal. See, there's a lot of behavioral principles that you could expect to happen when you modify behavior. So, but those things could actually tell you that what you're doing is the correct thing and not incorrect when you see a behavior come back again. So we'll talk more about that stuff, but there's a lot of really cool literature on that phenomenon. This is something that Nana Patty and I talked about today. Children, this is like one of the reasons that I think we're all here. Children, there's a lot of choices that kids could make today, right? That we didn't even have to deal with. I mean, they're seeing so much out there in the social media world. Up is down, down is up, good is bad, bad is good. And the cultural shift has been enormous in the last maybe even short time, like even maybe just 10 years. And the kids are getting, there's a lot of blurred boundaries. And children are very exposed to a lot of different concepts that they might not have been exposed to at home. And especially our older kids are really affected by this whole cultural shift. And I'm saying, even in my own life, I've seen young adult children who have really gone off the reservation. So we could talk about those behaviors too today. And that's the point I was making on this slide. I just put this, the social norms are changing. And, here's another thing I was thinking about. You have a kid who might go like to school, daycare, maybe they go to Scope. They might go to a grandparent's one time a week. They could have a family who's split between a step family and another step family. And each environment, they have to adapt to the rules and behavioral expectations of the adults in that home. So they have to shift all the time of what that parent or caregiver, what their expectations are. And it can be very confusing, especially to very young children. And you could find that you could be working on something that you don't want, like a behavior that you don't, that you want to get rid of or something, because the child's behavior really needs to be modified on some aspect. And then they go to somebody else's house and it's, completely undone. There's ways around it, but think about it from the child's point of view, right? It can be very confusing because the consistency is not there. And some children can adapt beautifully and some children cannot. So that's an important concept too. So I thought I'd throw that in there. And then, so I want you to develop a perspective here, okay? It's a behavioral one, strictly behavioral, okay? I'm a psychologist. When I practice, I always deal with the child's feelings, but I deal with them separately from the process of behavior management. You can't modify behavior without dealing with feelings, because children have deep feelings and you can learn so much from them about what motivates them and how they feel about different things. But when you're modifying behavior, you have to put it into the lens of a framework of behavioral theory and really look at the events that are happening around that behavior that are maintaining it. But I don't want you to think I never deal with the kids' feelings. Of course I do. But we have to, if we want to really eliminate a behavior that's disruptive or really harmful to a child, we really have to put that in that behavioral framework to get rid of it as quickly as we can. And then we could deal with the feelings, but we need to get rid of it. And that's the priority. And see, that's the situation I always found myself in because I needed to do things very quickly and very effectively. But the best part of the job was the mix of being able to go in there and make the changes and sometimes be strict in everything, but then on the other hand, give a lot of love at the same time. And I always felt like that's the combination that worked, because you always have to make the child feel that you really care, because I do. And I have to exude that to them. And when you do exude that to the child, it changes everything. It really does. And I found that even when I was had to be very strict with a child or be, honest and say, this is what you need to do and be firm and everything. If I gave them a lot of love on the other side of things, they blossomed so much more. So I think that that's always got to be a part of it, that the child always has to know that you really care. They have to know. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. I mean, I wouldn't want somebody to be with me that didn't care, So we're going to discuss some examples of behaviors to learn about the dynamics of behaviors. I'm going to ask you to give me examples so we can talk about things.
No.
You can, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you
can. We're going to break down the elements of behaviors into their little basic elements so we can understand why behaviors occur a certain way. And I just want you to be aware that it might seem like I'm focusing on negative behaviors a little bit more than positive ones. But I think that that's because those are the things that we really want to address. The positive behaviors are happening anyway. So I just don't want you to think oh my gosh, look at all she does is talk about bad behaviors and things of that nature. But I think you get the message. You think they do, Banana Patty?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Here's some common behaviors. I'm going to list some, all right, that I've seen in practice. And I want you to notice the wording that I use. Ignoring an adult direction. For example, the child does something else while the parent gives a direction. I'm sure you've seen that. Like you tell the kid to do something or ask them to do it, and they completely ignore you when they do something else, right? Not focusing attention onto the parent. I mean physically turning away from the parent. Arguing with an adult, verbal refusal to engage, saying no, becoming upset or screaming or crying, becoming upset when told no, stop, or don't, and becoming upset when the parent refuses a child's request. These are really common. Walking away from an area or a parent, becoming agitated when required to wait, avoiding eye contact. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these, right? And there's tons of other behaviors, right? These are some of the things I, in practice that I've dealt with. A lot of times it was like in a school setting or at home. I did, a fair amount of time working with kids at home too. Of course, some of these behaviors would be a little bit different, but you could see that, I've seen a lot of different things. I've had a lot of kids that do a lot of skin picking. Very common, much more common than you think. And you know what? I've had kids where they do some real damage to themselves. Rubbing against people, caressing people, touching others. That's a very common one that you see with kids on the spectrum. They do that when they're real little. And then when they get older, they don't realize that they shouldn't be doing that to somebody, anymore, stuff like that. They don't mean any harm by it, but it just becomes like something they keep. And this is just terminology. We call my field of study applied behavior analysis. And it basically means that we're out there to change behavior. Now, these are some real basic premises. All behavior is universal to all organisms. These principles could be applied to all animals. Okay? It's just a fact of nature. I hate to use the word human nature because that kind of is much broader, but in a certain sense, I guess you could think of it that way. Whenever I use that phrase, I kind of almost think of it as the same because, time can change, cultural shifts can happen. People could be drawn toward different types of, some people they're more drawn toward the socialistic, example of government and things of that nature. But in the end, when applied, right, in certain situations, people have a tendency to behave a certain way under certain conditions. It's just the way people are. It's the way our brains work. It's the way we learn. It's the way we are drawn toward things that make us feel good, and the way we repel things or avoid things that don't make us feel good. It's just the way our brains work. And those events that shape those behaviors are things that happen before and after those behaviors happen. And those are called antecedents and consequences. So now this is the technical part. An antecedent happens before, and a consequence happens after that behavior. And it's really that simple. And behavior analysis can get complicated, but that's really the basics of it. Okay? So you have a stimulus, you have an antecedent, then you have the behavior, and then you have the consequence, right? And that's ABA theory or applied behavior analysis theory. Now I'm going to give you an example myself because this is dry, all right? Should I do it now, Gab? All right. So this is a great example. All right. I'm going to make you laugh now because that was getting too dry. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
So one day, I didn't ask Gina, but she always says I could do this. One day, this is my little angel, Gina. I'll take it out. This is her at this age. Well, she was a little younger here than this time. See my little angel? Wasn't she cute? Look at that little face, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Adorable.
So, you see that little face? One day, my daughter was really addicted to the Binky, So here she is, happy as a clam, with the Binky, okay? Very Binky addicted, okay? There she is, the little face. All right. So now one day, we had Binkies all over the house. It was driving us nuts, okay? So one day, she's going to bed because we limited her to going to bed with it. We did that much, okay? I said, okay, It's time for bed. Here's the binky, whatever. She goes, well, you know what? I don't want that one.
Uh-oh.
But she did it like this. No, I don't want that one. Like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know? So he's dealing with her now. And he goes, well, and she said something like, I want the pink one or something like that. And he goes, no, that's the one you're going to get. He's like, I'm not looking all over the house for the pink one. So my child, this one, that had never, ever, ever had a tantrum in her life, this is what happened. So he goes like this. He goes, well, either you take that one or I'm taking them all and I'm throwing them in the garbage.
Whoa.
You take it or that's it. We're done with them. They're all going in the garbage. So she just looked at him and she goes, no. And this is a kid, she had never been oppositional in her life, ever.
Mm-hmm.
He goes through the house, he's looking around, we're living in this house. I'm just watching this whole thing, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He takes all of the ones that he could find and he throws them in the garbage. And the kid exploded.
Yeah.
Okay? So now I'm going to show you what she put us through, okay? She stuck her tongue at us.
Oh.
Look at that cute face. Okay?
Yeah.
She threw herself in her bed and was possessed by demons. Okay? Wait.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, okay. Screaming and thrashing in her little tiny toddler bed. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
She lost her mind. Then we were ignoring her. She came in our bed to show us how upset she was.
Mm-hmm.
So she was laying there and she was making every kind of ugly face she could make at us.
Mm-hmm.
And we laughed because we thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
So she continued to make these like exorcist faces at us. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
And she
mad.
screamed like a maniac.
Mm-hmm.
And we ignored her. But every once in a while we laughed. I have to admit it, we did. And then this was the best face of all. I think she thought we'd get scared. You ready? This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what she was thinking.
Oh my gosh.
But she thought she was scaring us, and we completely ignored her. Then she goes in the corner of my room. I used to read the paper in my bed. She goes in the corner of the room now, because now she's mad because like we're laughing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And she took apart the newspaper and started shredding it up like an animal.
Mm.
This child never had a tantrum in her life. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never in her life.
She's having a big one.
It was huge.
Yeah.
We just ignored her completely. Tongue sticking out.
Goodness.
She didn't say things like, I hate you, or, no, she didn't go below the belt. She just screamed.
Whoa.
Just screamed. This was the worst of the meltdown right here. She was losing her. Can you see the pain in her face?
Yeah. Oh, she's mad. She's really
She was
mad.
furious, absolutely furious with us, out of her mind. So eventually, we just ignored her the whole time. Did not say anything. Although a couple of times, I have to admit, right, Gary, we laughed a little bit. Okay, which probably enraged her more, but we didn't really care because it was funny. It was very funny. And after about, how long do you think it lasted, Gab? Maybe a half hour. I would say half an hour. It was long, too.
Yeah.
Eventually, when we ignored her, she went in her room. Because she was in our room. Then she went in her bed. Because I think she realized we weren't watching. We weren't doing anything. She went in her bed, and after about, I think it was about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. Gary said it could have even been an hour, but I don't think it was an hour. Eventually, she just went in her bed and fell asleep.
Yep.
And we
Without
never
the
said a
binky.
word. We never said, you know, we told you we were going to throw them away.
Mm-hmm.
We never said a word. We just let the consequence, you know, sink in. We knew we weren't going to go back because she was 3 years old. We knew that
Mm-hmm.
eventually they were going to have to go. You know, we knew it, you know, it was going to happen. And didn't really feel bad because we had always done like, you know, she was treated like a little, you know, fine. We didn't really feel sorry for her. So the next day, now we never, so we didn't rub it in. We didn't say, oh, we told you, blah, blah, blah. We didn't generate more anger,
Mm-hmm.
except maybe once in a while we laughed, but couldn't help it a little bit. We tried not to let her see it, but I think she knew. But we
Mm-hmm.
never said a word, and we never gave them back again because I knew that if we gave them back, the next time we tried to take them away, the tantrum would have been worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that once he put his foot down and he said that was it, I couldn't walk it back either, even if I wanted to. But I didn't want to because I knew it was going to happen when, you know, that we were going to,
Eventually.
that was going to be the end of it. So she went to sleep, and the next day she woke up. She was in a great mood. She never mentioned a binky again. Never said the word. Never asked for it. Didn't even talk about like what happened the night before. We didn't talk about it. Never mentioned it. And in fact, she got up in the morning and she said, you know, she asked for her doll with the braids, and she said, could you just, mommy, could you braid my hair?
Mm-hmm.
And we had a great day, and I braided her hair, and she played with her doll, and she never mentioned it again.
Wow.
So it was the most unbelievable like exorcism that you could ever imagine happening.
Mm-hmm.
And yet when it was over, it was total, you know, if I didn't know any better, I would have probably, especially a child who had never done that ever in her whole life,
Mm-hmm.
I might have been afraid of it and said, oh, we better give it back because what's happening to her?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I knew better, of course, that, you know, she was gonna stop. She would just have to weather the storm and she'll be done. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a really good example of a situation where she was given that binky every day since the day she was born, right? So she was finding pleasure out of that binky, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
one day we took it away, and she lost her mind over it, right?
Wow.
So that's the principle. I think that we would call that like an extinction in the professional world. We call it like extinction because it's when you're reinforcing a behavior, you're giving something, and then you're not reinforcing it anymore, and it just stops. And 9 times out of 10, if you do that, you get that kind of reaction. If a child is getting something and all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore and they're not getting it, you're going to get something like that, and that's normal. That's a normal thing to see. So I thought it was a very interesting example, and it's funny. It's a little funny. And she always says it's okay that I show the pictures. In grad school I actually showed people the pictures because I got my degree, my master's degree in 1991, right? I got it a behavioral degree, and then
That's when I
later on in my
graduated.
career, what?
That's when I graduated from nursing school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I
Yeah.
was pregnant too. I had Gina at the same. Oh, I had her in '89. I had her in the middle of the program.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a good time. I loved
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so I got my degree, and then I practiced. Right, got a little more education to get certified in school psychology because I really wanted to do that. At the time I did that, I was what you would call a behavioral psychologist because they didn't have applied behavior analysts yet. And then they started to develop a certification in applied behavior analysis. So in 2009, I went back to school and I took the coursework that I did in 1991 all over again. So I could take the exam and get certified. So I actually went to school for behavior analysis twice.
Wow.
So, yeah, because it was difficult to get grandfathered in. And then I figured, you know what? Why not get a refresher in my field? Like, it's going to kill me, right? It took me 2 years and I loved it. I actually got some work from it after I left the program. So I actually went to school for this 2 times. I went in 1991, 89 to 91, and then I went back to school in 2009 to 2011. So,
Wow.
okay, honey. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. The second time I went back, I didn't get a master's in it. I just got a like a professional certificate in it because I didn't need another master's. I didn't want it. I think I probably would have needed maybe 1 or 2 more classes, but I was like, I just want to go back to work. But
Mm-hmm.
the field changed a lot. They made the standards much more strict, and it was good. It's better that way. So yeah, kind of an interesting path. So I don't know. I hope you guys enjoy that example of Gina.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good one, right?
definitely.
So let me see. We were going to stop at what page to talk about different behaviors? Let's see.
10.
10? So
Yeah.
what page am I on now? Because I don't
can't
want to be
see.
too dry. All right, so we're going to stop at like grandma's rule. We're not up to that yet. Should I keep going? Is that good?
Sure.
All right. Is anybody saying they're bored?
No.
Okay.
Is anybody bored? I say great example and very interesting topic.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So the basic assumptions of applied behavior analysis that if a behavior is followed by something positive, right, a rewarding experience, it's more likely to occur in the future. So we could even predict behaviors, right, based on whether or not they're followed by something rewarding, right? And a behavior that's followed by something that's unpleasant is less likely to be repeated in the future under similar circumstances. That's something we should always remember, okay? Because I'm trying to make you guys like mini behavior analysts when you go out into the world, right? So you could maybe make a difference. And then a behavior that was once followed by a positive consequence and is no longer will decrease in frequency over time. So that's what Gina did. She had her little like outburst, and then that behavior of screaming and crying stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But first, you'll get a response first. Usually, you have to, because a child is it's learned behavior. Like if you're giving a kid, like say you're giving a kid something. I mean, the binky is a perfect example because kids get real attached to them, right? And then all of a sudden, that's gone. You're going to get a response. And you know what? I always say to people, when you're changing behavior and you get a response like that, it means that what you're doing is working.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that it's not working, because you're getting the predictable outcome, and you'll always get that spike and then a drop. But you have to be willing to stick with what you're doing and sort of like keep it in your mind. Wait a minute, it's going to get better. But you have to like go into that storm first. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you're trying to get your baby to sleep in the baby bed.
Exactly.
And you have to leave them in there and let them cry.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principle. I mean, I think I use that as an example. And with some behaviors, that the change in behavior refers to anything that includes creating a new behavior, increase the frequency of the behavior, or decreasing one, right? We could do any one of those things as applied behavior analysts. Okay? And the way we change behaviors is we change what happens before and what happens after. We manipulate those environmental events. Okay? And we can also manipulate motivation to have behaviors occur a certain way. But I could talk about that more later. It's kind of dry. Behavior can maybe change through the manipulation of answers. All right, let's go. Keep going. Okay, that's kind of dry. Let's keep going. Some of this stuff that I wrote was written like for technical audiences, so I don't want to bore you. All right, so now reinforcement of behaviors means that it's a behavior that's followed by something that's pleasant, right? Reinforcement means reward. It's rewarding, it's pleasurable. Try to keep that in your mind, okay? And I'm going to talk about these 3 principles, and then we're going to stop at grandma's rule, and we'll talk about, everybody could bring, if anybody wants to come on, they could bring up examples of behaviors that we could talk about, because then that'll be more fun. And then I can talk about some of the other stuff after that, okay? Sound good? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about I'm going to be talking about the principle of positive reinforcement. Has anybody ever heard of that before? I bet you have. Because the lexicon is in the regular population, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of it, Nana Patty?
Yeah. Someone asked the question is, does this work on adults too?
Yes.
Okay.
Behavior is universal to all organisms, right? And all ages. In a sense, we all have it in common. The only thing that's different would be the things that we find pleasurable and the things that we don't. So I might like, let's break it down to something really small, right? Like a really easy example. Like I like peppermint gum and my husband hates it. He likes spearmint gum. So he will always buy spearmint gum. I don't like spearmint gum. I only buy peppermint gum. But the principle is the same. When I want gum, I'm motivated to buy it, but I will only buy the peppermint one, and he'll only buy the spearmint one. Because the reinforcement is the taste that I'm going to get out of it. I'm certainly not going to buy the one that I don't like the taste of. But the principle is the same. When we both want gum, we're going to both go in the store, pay for the gum, and buy it. But the flavor is going to be different. But the principle is the same, right? Same behavior. You're buying the gum, you're eating, you're chewing it, but you're not going to get the same flavor. It's a pretty basic example, but the principles apply to everyone. But it's just a matter of what that person finds rewarding. And like, if I say I was going to be like a little kid and the teacher says, when you finish your work, let's say she says to the class, when you finish your work, you get, a candy kiss. Anybody that finishes their work gets a candy kiss. And the kids finish their work, but, one kid, he's the last kid that gets his work done. And she says, why didn't you finish? And he goes, well, I don't like candy kisses. Right?
Uh-oh.
See what I'm saying, though? Now, and then the teacher says, well, what kind of candy do you like? And he says, well, I like Kit Kats. So the next time she says, all right, everybody that finishes their work gets a Kit Kat. And he's the first one done. But 5 other kids don't like Kit Kats. They like candy kisses. See what I'm saying? Same behavior, but, the kids that want it are going to work for it. And the kids that don't want it are they'll drag their feet. They don't like that candy. Then the teacher starts saying, well, okay, whoever finishes their work, they can pick whatever candy they want. And then all the kids get their work done. Because they could pick it. So the principle's the same, but whatever it is that you find reinforcing or rewarding is going to be different.
Right.
I think that was a good example, right? Simple. Then we have the principle of grandma's rule, which I love. We're going to talk about grandma's rule because grandma always knows best, right? And then the last concept we'll talk about, for now will be negative reinforcement. So I'm going to start talking about these things, and then we'll talk about real examples. A positive reinforcer is a consequence that when given after a behavior occurs, right, increases the probability that a behavior will be demonstrated again. Okay? So remember that. I just said it before, right? You're going to get that reward. You're going to do it. You'll be more likely to do it the next time. So if the teacher gives out candy every single time she says, I want you to get this work done independently, and when you're done, you can have a piece of candy, and all the kids get it done, right? The next time they do independent work, she might not even have to say that they're going to get candy. But the fact that they already know that they got it last time, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be doing their work because she consistently gives it. After a while, she doesn't even have to say it. They know they're going to get it, right?
Yeah.
So there's different types of positive reinforcers. You guys feel like you're becoming behavior analysts? I hope so.
Yeah.
A little bit. There's 2 types, right? There's primary ones and secondary ones. Primary rewards are those that are not dependent on any learning. We innately like them. That includes any kind of foods that we like or drinks that we like, sleep, and sexual arousal. They're built into our DNA. People will generally act in a certain way to get these things because, well, we need them. We think of these primary rewards as things that we need to live. Okay? They're primal, really, that you don't have to learn to like because you need food to live, right? You get an appetite, you get thirsty, you get hungry, and you need sleep. And most adults need sex, right? Ooh, I'm not supposed to say that. So,
Oh, that's fine.
all right? I'm just kidding. So,
Mhm.
and then the secondary rewards are things that a child learns to enjoy. But don't forget, they're born with likes and, preferences too. We don't talk about that much in behavior analysis. We like to think everything's learned, but there are certain innate tendencies to make us drawn toward certain things and not drawn toward others, right? But some examples of secondary reinforcers are praise. Some kids like that, some kids don't. Toys, treats, TV shows, movies, computer games, and opportunities to engage in any desired activity. Just depends on what you like, what you find pleasurable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very bizarre sometimes what kids like. You have to really, there's a whole field of study in behavior analysis on determining what rewards to use for children. They're called preference assessments, and they can be very detailed because after all, if you don't get it right with the reward, nothing's going to work for you, right? Because we don't always depend on primary or secondary. We don't always like to depend on primary rewards like food, like those kinds of things, and even like toys and things like that. We don't like to do those things unless we really have to, because then when you pull them away, you can lose the behavior again. But there are certain instances where you can give, concrete rewards, things, tangible things to get to teach behaviors. But we could talk more about that later on too. Okay, there's ways around that. There's ways to not make a kid that dependent on them too, but you got to kind of work at it. Rewards are not just things. They can be anything that a child or an adult enjoys and is naturally drawn to. Sometimes you could find them when you just look at a kid and what they like and see what they like to do most. And you always have to, when you're talking about positive reinforcement or reward, you always deliver that reward. You always give it to that child right after it occurs, and don't ever give it ahead of time. You'll never get the behavior back. If you want to give a child a reward for a behavior, right, and you give that reward first, you have no leverage left. Number one, you don't have any leverage left. But what would be the primary motivator for the child to engage in that behavior then? None. If they don't have a natural motivator to engage, say homework, right? Yeah. You want the kid to do homework. They come home from school, there's cookies and milk on the table. You say to the child, when you finish one page of homework, you can have a snack. You can have the cookies and milk. The kid cries and says, I really want it now. I really, really want it. I'm really hungry. I didn't eat all day. I didn't have any lunch. It was gross. The lunch was gross. I'm hungry. And then the mother feels bad and gives the kid the cookies and milk. As soon as that kid gets that cookies and milk, you're done. He gets up, he walks away. Or if he does do the work, the motivation to do it is not really there anymore. So it might take the kid 10 times longer than it would have if you just waited, right? But I've seen that a lot of times where the kid gets that, reward ahead of time with a promise. Do you promise to do your homework? But it never works. So that's a really important concept that people really need to know. Save that reward for when you really, really need it. Don't give up the goods. Just don't. It's not worth it. In general, positive reinforcers or rewards should be given 30 to 60 seconds after the behavior occurs. It should be immediate, very close to when the child does the behavior, because you want to make the link between the two events, right? That'll become more important later on. And the research shows that 30 to 60 seconds, that's pretty fast, right?
Right. Less than a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is grandma's rule, okay? This is a method of changing behavior where it's the definition is really dumb, but I'll read it anyway. Whereby a low probability behavior is reinforced by a high probability behavior. Says, but so the grandma says, this is the principle of it. Can you do what I want you to do, and then you may do what you want to do. So a grandmother, I love that it's called grandma's rule because, that's what a lot of grandmas do because they don't want to be, punitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they'll set things up and they'll say, you know what, it's something simple like, the kid like say the grandma's watching the kid, right? The kid comes home from school and, it's time to do homework because it's always homework, right? I hate that, but there's always homework. And there's the snack on the table and everything. And, the kid comes, barreling through the door and everything. And the kid sits down at the table and kid knows that they have to wait for snack and the grandma's good with that because she knows, she got everything down. And the kid has really dirty hands from school. And the kid sits down with the pencil and she goes, hey, wait, your hands look kind of dirty, Did you play? You played today, right? At recess, right? Yeah, I did, And the kid, she goes, you should wash your hands first before we do this. The kid's like, oh, I don't want to do. I just got home. I don't really want to wash my hands. I really, really don't want to wash my hands. I just don't want to do it. And she'll say to the kid, you know what? Go wash your hands, and then when you come back, I have an idea. Maybe we could sit here and you could draw me a picture of what you did at recess before you start homework, and then we'll start homework. The kid gets up and goes wash his hands and comes back and draws a little picture before he starts homework, and because the grandmother already knows that they like to draw together, so she sneaks in something else there. First, you do what I want you to do, then you can do what you want to do. So that's the principle, and I like it because it really is it works really well. And you know what's really good and it teaches another principle, right? And I always say this to parents: when you have children, right, the best thing you could do is alternate things that they want to do with things that they don't want to do. Always flip flop things. Make the routine so that if there's things in there that they don't really like to do, it's interspersed with things that they want to do. Because then you're building in the motivator for the next step. And you could use that as your leverage, as a motivator to get the child to do things that they don't want to do. But if you're always stacking them so that the things that they don't like to do the most are like sort of grouped together, and then all the things they really like to do are like grouped together, then when you go through all the things they don't like to do, there's no leverage in between, right? And what I'm calling leverage is reinforcement, reward. The thing that's going to promote the probability, the higher probability of compliance, right? Of positive behaviors. And I tell you, it really works. It's the routine. If you make the routine, you can really do a lot of really good things for kids. If you just scatter things like that sometimes. And every kid has things that they just hate to do. A lot of times it's the shower or the bath. They see no purpose to it.
Yeah.
They see absolutely, unless they're like, they get into the teenage years, they just don't see any purpose to all that work. Come on, what are we doing this for? They just hate it. Most of the time, elementary school kids, they just don't like it. They just really, unless you're really, really little and you're like a baby, they love it. But those elementary school ages, they just hate it. So, try to mix it up with something that, something that happens right after that shower that they really, really like. And build it up. Just build it up. It's going to be great. This is great. And always have something up your sleeve so that there's something that they can reflect on that can happen right afterward. And those things can really, really work. So just put it out there. And that's what the grandma's rule really is, except it's just a chain of events that you're setting up, right?
Right.
I just did the homework thing. And then I'm going to stop here now because this principle is it's a little confusing because people hear negative reinforcement, they think punishment, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's I'm going to say it right. I'm going to say it once and then we'll come back to it. It's a method of increasing a behavior by taking something away that's unpleasant after the behavior occurred. So you're removing something that is aversive to that person, and it's a reinforcer because you're taking away the suffering that you inflict on the person from that behavior. So negative reinforcement is not punishment, and we're going to talk a lot about that. Negative reinforcement is a method of increasing a behavior and making it happen. But I'm going to stop because I want to come up with examples now because I think we're on page 10. Yep, we are. So do you want to bring on some people, and we could even look in the chat and come up with some examples to talk about a little bit now that we have a little bit of a framework?
Yeah. I know the moderators, the numbers or the
Okay.
link is where it usually is. If you want to call in, we can go over some questions.
Yeah, and then let me know because I can't see the chat, but let me know what you see.
I will.
If I had one more device, I could.
Yeah.
How is everybody liking this so far? What do you think? Tell me some feedback.
It's all been good. Good things to see.
Good.
I think that they're really interested a lot. This group seems to be more interested in adult behavior
Okay.
than children.
I can talk a lot about adult behavior because the principles are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Behavioral principles are the same. And it's funny. You could see a lot of consistency between childhood behavior and adult behavior. It's interesting because when you're dealing with adults, right, you can see what behaviors have been maintained through childhood and which ones haven't by the way they behave under certain circumstances, and then that can tell you where you should begin. It's the same principle, like I said with you, when I said with children, like I said, you treat the age of the behavior, you don't treat the age of the child. It's pretty similar with an adult because sometimes adults can really retain very juvenile behaviors too. So you want to manage them almost the same way that you would manage a child if they're behaving like one. I know I don't mean that in a bad sense either, and I don't mean it in a judgmental one. It's a purely scientific way that I mean that. I hope you understand that. The principles are all the same. And in fact, adult behaviors can be just as transparent as children.
Hello, Pamela.
What kind of behaviors are people interested in discussing? I already threw Gina under the bus. No, I'm only kidding. She doesn't mind. I've used little baby Gina a lot of times. She knows. She's totally okay with it. So don't worry. I even used her example in graduate school. See, I did a case study on her. This is one of my case studies that I did, and I know you're gonna laugh. So it's until we come up with one. This is the pictures that I took, and I labeled them for my assignment.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my email in the chat, and if somebody wants to call in, just email me, and I'll send you the link. So there's my email.
Hurt his tail yesterday.
The cat hurt its tail.
Yeah. He got his tail caught in the drawer.
That's my email address. If anyone wants to call in, just
Nana Patty, I found his medicine.
Oh, good.
We're gonna give it to him at dinner. I don't know what the name of it is. It's called, I think it's an anti-inflammatory, if I'm not mistaken. It's called, they always put these in the blue bottle. Turbutrol. I think it's an anti-inflammatory. Poor Nunu got his tail stuck in the drawer. And I did it.
Probably.
I felt so bad.
Yeah.
I'm just putting my volume up a little bit.
Sorry, Muppets. Doing too many things at one time. Hi, Muppets.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
What are you doing, honey?
Hi, Lisa. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
too loud, I mean.
No, you're good.
Okay. Hi,
There's a little bit of
everybody.
feedback from my phone. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Can you
I
hear?
don't hear it unless it's
Oh,
mine.
good. Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Davida. Davida.
Hi, Davida.
Hey, Lisa, you did good, sweetie. Real good.
Yeah,
Everyone
good
loved it.
job,
It so far?
Lisa.
Yeah, real
Lucy
good.
J says, Lisa. Oops, hold on. Let me
I
find
don't
it
want to be
again.
boring, Davida.
No, you're not. No,
You
please.
could never be
boring.
boring.
Lucy J says, Lisa D, I have a son with Asperger's and
Okay.
in trouble. It's been so difficult on me.
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. How old?
How old is your son with Asperger's?
Hi, everybody in chat on panel.
Yes,
Hi,
hello,
Davina.
chat.
I'm glad you guys popped in. I want to get some, some examples and some conversation going. I don't want it to be too dry.
Yeah. I can give you a example of what happened with London because a lot of you know
Sure.
London has autism. My grandson,
Sure. While
and
we
he
wait for
was.
more.
Oh, Lisa, hold on one
Yeah.
second. Lucy J says he is 37 and he's incarcerated.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. That can happen. It can. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Gretchen says she has an adult daughter, high functioning autism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel so bad to hear that.
ASD very difficult with the tantrums, Jenny Barnes says.
How old?
Just says ASD. I'm not sure what that is. ASD?
It's autism spectrum disorder.
yeah.
Okay. Very difficult with tantrums.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa Elvis wants to know more about adult behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And Monique is going to email me.
Well, about the tantrum behavior, it sounds like maybe you could benefit from some help from someone like me that you could get. You can get some help from that could come to the house and help you. You have an adult child. It doesn't matter the age. And any child that's having really big tantrums at home or adult, you need help with that because you need to basically find out why. And that's what I'm going to talk about, in a little while. The only way to really change behavior is to know why it's happening. What's causing it. If you don't know what's causing it, then you're really guessing, and you can't guess. I mean, I want you guys to, like, when you're looking at a behavior, I want you to think about, okay, what's happening before it, what's happening after it. What's almost always happening first. Now listen, you have a kid who's tantruming. They could tantrum for a lot of different reasons, maybe not just one, right? But try to become a keen observer and look at those situations. Even if you have to kind of even if you decide you're going to get help for those tantrums, try to write down different things about it. So when the person comes, you have a little bit of a record of what happens before, what the behavior is looking like, what the person's doing, and what happens after. So that you can figure out why. Like, I'll give you an example. I've had kids, a kid that, well, they were actually twin little boys that I worked with at home. And the biggest problem in the whole family was that he could not wait for anything. Anytime you said wait, he lost his mind. He could not wait more than like 30 seconds for anything. The second he came through the door, I made sure I was there when he got home. He would fly into the kitchen and he would want snack the second he walked in. If he didn't get it within 30 seconds to like a minute, he was on the floor screaming. All right, now it's a child, but you know what? I've also seen adults behave like that too. Okay? Very similar for other reasons. Maybe it's not the same reason, doesn't matter. And what we had to do is we had to very slowly and gradually increase the amount of time he had to wait for something. But we had to do it so incrementally small units of time. So we would keep him out of the tantrum zone and then give it to him. And then increase the amount of just constantly increase the time that it would take for him to get what he really wanted. But in the beginning, we couldn't do that because he would hurt himself. So it was just basically really, really difficult in the beginning because you have a child hurting themselves. You can't let them hurt themselves. You're not going to say, okay, wait 5 minutes for a snack while the kid bashes their head in and then runs through the window and tries to smash their head into the window. I mean, you're just not going to do that. So you have to find other methods to do it. It can be very difficult, but not impossible.
Vicky,
but what?
Vicky says that she has a 17-year-old son that's autistic and very low with suicidal thoughts, and then a 12-year-old daughter with autism and lashing out a lot.
Mm-hmm. Does she have any help that she has somebody that can go and help her? Or did they
Vicky?
age out of the system and they don't have help? That happens sometimes. I mean, the key really is if you're living at home with that kind of behavior, you need a professional to come in. You're not going to be able to change that behavior on your own. Like I'm telling people, simple things. I in no way can tell people how to change like violent behavior like that over YouTube. I really can't. That's not what I'm here for. I'm really here to give a basic understanding of the principles of behavior and maybe some, how to make some small changes in behavior. But I would never promote,
Basically, she needs help, right? She needs professional help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that's available through the school system, right?
Well, it's available through the school system up until the age of 21.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also get help through there are board certified behavior analysts like me that she could hire.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on to I could probably provide some information at the end of this of where people could get in touch with people that do this work. There's tons of agencies in all states that provide services at home. And I think a lot of it is covered through medical insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been a lot of legislation change so that applied behavior analysts are covered under medical insurance. And so I think that would be the best thing to do. I hope maybe I should have made that clear at the beginning. I can't give advice on how to get rid of those kind of violent behaviors, just from something like this.
Right, because you're not treating that child.
Right, I'm not. I can't. I'm not even I'm not even really allowed to. But I mean, I'm trying to just give a basic understanding of behavior. But I wish I could do more. But there's behavior analysts in every state. I don't know what state you're in, but we're internationally certified. There's tons of people. In every state. And I've seen them do. I mean, miraculous work on those kinds of behaviors. It's not impossible.
Right.
It's not impossible. And I'll tell you this much though. If it would be impossible to deal with that at home, they could make recommendations on other things that could be done, like they could be, temporarily go to a facility that could help them more, eliminate those behaviors and then go back home, things of that nature. Or sometimes they can go to day treatment centers that and then come home in the evening. Because you know what? I'll tell you something interesting. A behavior could be tied to a setting, right? Like say a kid has lived in their home now this, I'm not implying that it's anybody's fault. I don't mean it at all that it's anybody's fault. But remember in the beginning, I said special needs children retain behaviors. They're more likely to retain them through life unless you eliminate them purposefully. I said that right in the beginning, right? That's why I said that, because I've seen kids that have some extreme behaviors in one place and not have any in another place, only because it's associated with that place.
So, like,
Because
someone might have bad behaviors at home, but they go to grandma's and they never act out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be more typical of like a typically developing child, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot. But a
Mm-hmm.
child with a severe disability can have behaviors that only occur at home and never occur at school, or vice versa. They
Mm-hmm.
could have never have behavior problems at home because then there's no demands on them, right? They don't have to do any work, they don't have to, right? But then when they go to school, they're violent.
Right.
So it can actually be associated with just the place itself, the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you change the setting, the behaviors go away. That's why I was saying sometimes it's good, like if even the child could go to a day treatment program or a respite. Sometimes you can
Mm-hmm.
have a reduction in the behavior just by changing the setting, not doing anything else. It's weird. You know why? We're all like this. We make associations with places, with things. We develop habits. Children that have special needs, especially children on the spectrum, they are very, very, very keyed into their environment. And I've seen kids that have had tantrums only because they've had tantrums there before, even in the absence of any demand or anything that they don't like happening to them or anything, only because they've done it before. That's why when I tell people, when they're managing their own kids' behavior, be careful of a precedent-setting behavior. Try to
Mm-hmm.
avoid setting precedents because children are more likely to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very, very exaggerated in a special needs child. That precedent setting, it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like a script. Like, hey, wait a minute, I just walked in this room and yesterday I screamed, so I'm going to walk in and scream today. For
Mm-hmm.
no other reason but they did it before, because some of these children could be very sensory oriented and very, very associative. They connect things together.
Mm-hmm.
I come in this room, I scream. I go in that room, I sit on the couch. To them, there's no difference.
Mm-hmm.
Get what I mean? So it doesn't even have to be that there's any demand placed on them that they might be having the behavior. It just means it happened one other time. And now this is what I do. Same thing, like, I'll give you another example that's a really good one. A child that, and this happened to me, I can't even tell you how many times. Children that have difficult or explosive behavior in elementary school. And they kind of limp along. They get through elementary school, mostly because it's a good principal that's very understanding and loves the kid and is very, things like that, right? So the kid gets through the whole elementary school system and occasionally has explosive behaviors, but kind of holds it together, but every once in a while loses it. But basically gets done, right, with 5th grade and is going into middle school. Goes into middle school, never has another tantrum again. Just never does it again. Because he always did that in elementary school. But now it's a new place. It's a new setting.
Davida, did you want
Never
to?
does it again. Never does it again. It happens a
Did we-
lot. And there's other elements to that too. It might be also that in elementary school, you have so much more attention focused on you. When you go to middle school, you're a little freer. Things open up a little bit more. And it gave this child, I think in particular, a little more room to not have somebody on him all the time, watching everything he did. But that's just a theory because I knew him his whole elementary school life. But I can't tell you, and I would say to parents all the time, like him, wait until they go to middle school. I think he's going to do better. Because he was so sensory, like he was so, that's not the right word. He was so it's like a habit, okay? I always did that in school, and now I'm going to a new school. I'm not going to do it. It's he didn't make the decision, but the environment dictated it. Almost happens a lot, more than you think.
The chat was asking for
Or Davida.
resources. If you could put resources in later, you guys.
Yeah, I'll later on. I will send Nana Patty some resources for places. Now, the thing is, maybe some people could tell me where they live too, and I'll write it down. It shouldn't really matter because, like I said, there's behavior analysts in every state, but it would be nice to know because if there's somebody that I know, if the person is from here, it could be somebody that I know personally
Right.
that's practicing. So I could write it down,
Yeah.
or I could maybe look back on the chat or something. I don't know. But that's what I think. People that have that kind of behavior at home, you need help at home. You're not going to be
Hey,
able to change
Lisa,
it
can I
yourself.
take your computer one off? Can I remove your computer? That stream? Can I take that stream off?
I don't know. Do you want me to stop now and do the rest next time? We'll do discussion now, and then next time we'll pick up where we left off.
Let's
do you
just do
think?
discussion now, and then we'll pick up where we left off.
I think that's
Is
a
that
good
a-
idea because the whole
I've got-
handout is 20 pages and 10 is half.
I've got 2 people in here that came in from chat that want to talk to you.
Let's do that, all right? So I'll
Okay.
shut this off.
Okay, I'm
Or
going to
you can
remove
shut
it
it
from the
off,
stream.
Perfect.
Okay.
Because we are halfway done, so we could do the other half next week.
Okay.
Okay, and then this time we could use it just to, talk about stuff.
Yeah. I've got Jenny Barnes and we've got Monique that came in.
Hi.
That have questions
Hi,
for you.
everyone.
Hi, Jenny. I don't see Monique unless I'm behind.
I can see Monique on the
Oh,
screen.
I see Monique now. Hi, Monique.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Letting Lisa get some coffee.
No, I have to get Tylenol because I have a headache.
Oh.
Ever since I had COVID, I've been getting headaches.
Me too. Feel you.
Drink lots of water,
Every day.
Lisa. Drink lots of
What?
water. Lots of water. Yep.
Muppets,
Right, so
I
what do you
muted
think?
you.
What do you want to ask?
Hold on. I was going to tell Muppets I muted her because
Oh, no.
we're getting a lot of static from your line, Muppets. So I just unmuted you again. Oh, just unmute when you want to say something, Muppets.
Okay, is it still bad?
Yeah.
I'll
but
just go on the chat.
No, don't leave.
Go lay on the blanket.
Just mute.
Just mute until you want to say something.
I'm going to mute too so
No,
the
you
girls
can't
can
stay
talk.
here. You have to go on the blankie. Okay,
Well,
you go on the blankie.
Okay. So I'll go to step in front of
Sure.
anybody.
Yeah,
For
go.
Lisa,
I hope I can help you out. I'll do my best.
I'm not sure you can. I appreciate your behavior and analysis. But I'm not sure of the link you have with the ASD type children and how different behaviors are from what they were when we were children, right? You cannot teach the same type of reinforcement and behaviors from children that might not like an ice cream. They might not like
That's right.
a cake as a reward.
I've had a lot of kids like that because it's about what they find that they like, not what we think they like.
Yeah. So
Very
it's very difficult to try to get them. So I'm just curious as to how you would treat somebody that didn't want those rewards to say.
What kind of? Well, can you give me examples of things that your child does like?
Example, he likes graphic design. He likes to create his own video games.
Wow.
Yeah.
He sounds really cool.
Yeah, he's pretty smart and cool. But food
And how
wise,
old?
he's 10.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Yep,
love kids
same
like that. They're
age as
so
the one I want to talk
interesting.
about.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
They're
the
so interesting, those kinds of kids.
Mm.
They grow up a lot of times to be real superstar kids. I mean, really amazing kids.
it's just so much different than how I was. You know, you
Mhm.
might be able to reward me with a friendly Sunday, right?
Mhm.
But he
Right.
will never eat ice cream. He doesn't care about ice cream.
Right.
And
But that's real world, right? It's not. I'd rather see a kid that is a little bit more in depth, that has more depth to them than a kid. I'm not that I don't mean it that way, that a kid that
yeah,
likes ice cream is bad, but
yeah,
he's got so much depth to him. There's so much you can do there.
right.
know?
And if I was to take away, say, the computer that he couldn't make a program to,
Mm-hmm.
it would be the end of the world for
Mhm.
myself, my husband,
Right.
my mother, taking care of
Right.
him.
Right.
And he is on medication, but
Mhm.
I feel
Does it
like
help?
for a little bit. He just started
Marginally,
back
right?
school like 2 days ago,
Mm-hmm.
to see how it goes. But
Mm-hmm.
there really is no answer.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say, for people with children on the spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same. It really isn't.
I understand what you're saying, because you're it's atypical. It's not something that you can identify with yourself.
Right.
And
Yes.
in his case, you would probably have to be very creative um, to figure out what motivates him and how to implement it, how to make it work.
Right.
And it sounds like you're having difficulty figuring that out, because he
Yes.
is so unique. He's
Yes.
so unique. Does he have a very? It sounds like he has a really strong motivation to learn.
Only in computer wise.
Okay.
He's not interested in some science, but like school wise, not
Mm-hmm.
interested at all.
And what do
Bored.
they do in school with him?
He does have occupational therapy. They do try to introduce foods to him. They have him pick out a lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And they have it in front of him, but he does not want to eat. His food is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
No protein, which is very
Oh boy.
discerning to me. I have gotten
Mm-hmm.
him vitamin patches that he can wear,
Mm-hmm.
but he's getting like no protein whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't seem to care about learning math,
Mm-hmm.
learning English. He types 35 words a minute at 10
Mm-hmm.
years old. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And is very, like I said, builds his own gaming graphic
Mm-hmm.
programs,
Mm-hmm.
but is not interested in the day to day.
So he's got like a tunnel vision for that specific area, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else
Yes.
he doesn't have motivation for, really.
Nope.
So what in school, do they use any of that stuff to motivate him, to get him to do his work or anything like that? Like give him time on the computer to do like video game design or anything like that?
They do a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
with his stemming that he has, like
Mm-hmm.
he's pulling hair and stuff. They put yarn and stuff, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Do they
It's
have
not.
any behavior specialists coming in as a consultant for him or anything? Do
There
they do?
there is a clinical liaison that is there. But I am not impressed with her. I see
Well.
her escalating behaviors as I
Mm-hmm.
watched online,
Oh boy.
as I saw. I can
Mm-hmm.
only get what I get, right?
Right. Right. That's true. What
Monique,
state are you in?
Connecticut.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they don't have somebody coming in like me, like a consultant, a behavior analyst. You see, there's a difference between a clinical psychologist and even a master's level behavior analyst. Very, very big difference. You can have a doctoral level clinical psychologist, and they still don't have the same background to change behavior as a behavior analyst, even at a master's level, because it's a whole different philosophical place to come from. Unless that person has a PhD, has a doctoral degree as a behavior analyst, then it's different. But, it sounds like that's, where he needs somebody who's really behavioral seeing him. You know what I mean? I don't know, who the person is, I'm not saying they're bad. I don't know, but, did we lose
Lisa,
her?
can
Do
I
we
make
lose
a
her? Do we lose
Oh
Monique?
yeah, I think she's dropped out.
Oh
That's
no.
No,
Maybe she'll
that's a
come back.
shame.
Because I wanted to finish what I was saying with her. Because
Maybe you could go ahead and say it, Lisa.
all right, so what she could do also is to see if her own insurance would pay for a behavior analyst that she could hire herself, because medical insurance does cover it. I'm not sure what states, but I think most states you have coverage for that, and she might be able to get somebody at least to come and help her at home. And I'm not sure if they could go into the school, but at least they could give her pointers on how she could manage him at home. There's also people that specialize in children that have very limited diet, very limited food preferences. That could be covered by insurance too. That I know for a fact is covered under, I think, speech therapy. I think they do that. But check. A lot of times I think you could even check with your insurance company. And these people are very good. Now, I don't know how many sessions you could get covered, but I know that she could do that privately, and there at least some time is covered by insurance for behavior analysts, and also speech therapy for his severe limitations in food choices. Because there's people that are experts in that, and they make a difference what the kids can eat.
I've seen that with my nieces, my great nieces. I've
Mhm.
seen that therapy help a lot with adding
So
foods
let me
in.
write down Monique's name, because maybe I could sort of give her a little bit of input.
Yeah.
She's from Connecticut. All right.
And then we've got Jenny Barnes here.
Okay, Jenny.
Yeah, my grandchild's the same age as Monique's, and on the spectrum, but not diagnosed as to where at the moment, because they're taking their time, because not all kids present the same way, obviously, and some children only display a lot of their issues at home, and they can
That's
be out
true.
in society and people don't notice. So it's a slow process, but we are thrilled with his psychiatrist. It took a long
Good.
time to get in. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank
And
goodness.
yes, and he also has a psychologist, which would be the behavioral expert.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and he didn't want to go to the behavioral person, which, a lot of kids don't.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a trauma dog on site, or a trained dog for what do you call them?
Excellent.
Yes, and he loves animals, so of course he went straight away to see this dog. So
What a
getting
great motivator, right?
getting the right psychologist that really
You do.
understands. You have to have the right one.
You
And the
do.
other thing I was going to mention to Monique, I found watching a lot of the good YouTube sites, and I can't think of one at the moment, but there's plenty, listening to young adults or adults talk about how it was for them. You can pick
Mm-hmm.
up some hints from, for instance,
Yes.
some
That's a good
food.
point. You got to be
Yeah.
a little careful though, because
Oh, very careful. I would never, in fact, I wouldn't
very,
even recommend one, because it's something we have to connect with ourselves, look at the amount of followers, look at the sort of, just have a look at some of their
right,
videos, if it makes sense or not, or a lot
right.
do work for instance, in the UK with the, what do they call the UK medical, NHIS, or
NHS?
yes, yeah, things like that. So you can get the very, very good ones. Um,
Hi,
and
Monique.
they
I'm
took.
glad you're back.
Hi, thanks.
Uh,
Sorry, I dropped off as
That's
you were
okay.
I'm glad
glad
you're
you're
talking
here.
back.
about.
And
It-
things like food can be texture with ASD.
Yes.
So you might be really traumatizing the young person, asking them to eat something that's just not a texture
Well,
they can cope with.
yeah, and that's a good point, but I find that from my experience, offering that food on the plate, leaving it there and exposing the child to it,
Yeah,
even if
Yes,
they don't eat it,
yeah.
you should
I agree.
never ever give up on that.
And the other
Exposure
thing,
is
Lisa,
very important.
yep, and the other thing is letting the child eat with their fingers, which some people find hard to do, but we do that with babies now. We put it on the tray, not a plate and a spoon, and because they'll eventually pick up and get at least the taste of different food, even if they're pushing it aside, the taste
Right.
goes in their mouth when they're eating the next thing. So that's in Australia how we feed babies now. They finger it, the preferred ways that they eat with their fingers, so they get a taste sensation from all those foods on the tray, whether they eat it or not.
Right.
So
But
there's
the
the
thing
And
same with
also,
is,
texture.
the
he
Yep.
was
research
as a
also on
baby, he
what?
regressed.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
That
What'd you say?
happens, doesn't
Wait,
it?
tell me that again, Monique.
The thing is, he has regressed from what he ate as a baby. Of course, I made him all,
Oh, I've heard that
homemade
before.
food. He was eating Chinese food at 9 months old, like the ribs, the boneless ribs. And then limited diet of noodles with sauce and pizza. And now he will not even eat that.
Did
It's
he have
cold.
any vomiting problems or hypersensitive gag reflex?
When he was a baby, yes. But
Mhm.
now, no.
But that's a
And
very common precursor to food selectivities.
Oh,
but
that's
now will
interesting.
not even like when because I cook a lot, and
Well,
he'll be like,
Monique, it's not your fault.
No.
It's not your fault.
I know, but it's hard,
I know, but
to
I'm
see
just
your
saying.
child not eat.
I know, but I'm just saying to you, none of that is your fault. You didn't do anything to make that happen. Zero. I know it.
And
Okay?
Monique,
Yeah.
it's
I know it's when your child doesn't eat, it's the worst feeling in the world. But I'm telling
Yes.
you didn't do anything wrong. And in fact, exposing him to those foods is the best thing you could do. Because I have really done some research in this area, and that's a very good strategy. Keep exposing him to it. And also, some of the research shows that if you eat that food in front of the child, they're more likely to try it if they see you enjoying it. Believe it or not, that's conceptually.
We've tried on
this is
vacations,
so good. Oh, this is. But
I
don't.
mean,
But I'm just saying to you, it is a strategy, and don't stop. Just don't stop. Don't lose hope with it. Don't stop. It's getting in there.
Monique,
Okay.
can I ask, does he have, like with my grandson, this happens, and you write about the regression, they go back to one thing.
I've
Bang.
heard it a
That's it.
million times. I'm so sorry for you because that's got to be
it is.
It's awful.
Do you find that when he gets the one thing, like the noodles, we're on noodles at the moment, funny enough, but when he gets the noodles, like every day you're preparing something to get in their stomach to go to school, then you've dished up the noodles on day 20 or something.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I don't like noodles. I only like pancakes. And then you've got to start breakfast all over
He's
again.
like, I don't like the black speck in it, which is like the pepper,
Yes. Yeah.
or pizza, or if I'm cooking something, I love how that smells. I said, great. Would you like to try it? No, I just like how it smells.
Yeah.
But
So I
that's a
know
good
it's not.
sign that it's a good sign that he's saying that because it's showing that he's got some receptiveness toward it. It's a good, that's why I keep saying, don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't
And,
stop. I don't know if you heard me before. You might be, under your health insurance, you might be entitled to get him some feeding therapy through, I think speech does it or OT.
He
So-
does have speech and OT through
Do
the
they work
school.
on that?
Well, it's limited since COVID, right? It's all
Oh.
like the video in the school that he goes to a special school. He
Oh.
doesn't go to a regular.
Boy, I'm telling
It's
you.
not this.
Boy.
It's so challenging. I'm trying, with anybody that's trying to deal with a regular kid that might have behavioral problems, it's not the same.
No, it isn't. It's a
No,
whole different world.
it for sure is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mhm.
very disheartening. Like I'm a nurse, so I
Mhm.
work with doctors, and he's like, "Oh, just let him, go hungry. He'll be so hungry. He'll
Doesn't
eat."
work like that.
No, I'm
Mm-mm.
not starving my kid.
No,
I'm not,
and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
No.
No. Monique, you might not have heard us, but when Lisa was talking about the food specialist, we were also, she was saying that you might be able to get the behavioural specialist, which we see one with my grandson. She's not thrilled about going, but luckily she had a trauma dog. And he loves dogs. So he was straight there when he saw a picture of the dog.
Mhm.
But so obviously she's very thoughtful and understands the sort of ways to get the kids engaged. So if you could see if your insurance can get you a private visit, yeah, Lisa, I think one-on-one is really a
and
good idea.
I think that you would be entitled to some behavior analysis services under your insurance. I'm not positive, but I think you could be. Even if it was not unlimited, you might be able to get enough services that somebody could give you some input and help you out. Did you ever try that before?
I've been working with it since birth to 3.
Right.
I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yep. Yep.
All the way through school. Like I said, he's in a special school.
Which should have it built in, right?
Yes, but not getting results.
Right.
That I might. And I have to say, when we go through the EAP meeting yearly, the principal said this could be a lifelong thing with him with food. Right. And it made me, it brought tears to my eyes.
That's
I know.
sad.
I know.
He won't even drink an Ensure drink or take a bite of chocolate cake. He,
Very
it's not the
frustrating.
same.
Right.
Yeah.
When they
I
work
think
when they're doing feeding therapy, I've watched them in these feeding therapy programs with children. They do therapy. They work on rice-size pieces of food. That's how small they start.
Well,
When
I'm not. They
rice-sized therapy pieces of food. That's how little they start. I mean, you're talking about like minuscule
Tiny.
little bites of food to start. I mean, that's where they're starting from, like ground zero.
Yeah, they got him to take a lick of a frosting off of a cupcake. Right, that's as far as they got.
In 1 year, in one school year.
In I'd say 4 months, because they moved him up to a different. I wasn't impressed with the class he was in with the teachers and the clinical liaison. They moved him up, and then it was like 4 months and a year. So all I can do is keep my fingers crossed and have faith in the school system. Right at this point,
Right.
I
understand that you feel like it's just dragging on and nothing's happening enough.
And he's getting older and older, right?
Right. I understand.
Lisa, I think I've seen a video with the feeding the rice size. I forgot all about that. So thanks for reminding me, because we might have to go back to that. And I just think, Monique, I work with adolescents that very often have severe eating disorders, and definitely I feel getting someone maybe to take a lick off a cupcake, you're presenting the whole cupcake, I would assume, and that's way too overwhelming. It's definitely about getting the little pinprick or rice-sized piece and asking them to taste that, rather than presenting the whole thing in front of them, because often the minute they see the food, they're already anxious.
Right, but I will say this much. if you want to treat that, you need a feeding expert. You need
Oh, you
Yeah.
need the
A feeding-
specialist.
What
need a
would
feeding
be
Absolutely.
the Lisa?
What?
What would be the actual term? Dietary nutritionist or
There are behavior analysts that specialize in only feeding problems with children. So let me just take down your information and I'll find out for you.
okay.
All right. I don't know what state. I know a couple, but I don't remember what state they're from. But let's try to figure something out. Maybe we could get somebody that could help you out, you know?
Yeah.
Because
I
I
would
feel like that's
appreciate that.
the primary problem. He doesn't
Right
need any
now,
protein.
yes. Especially like we like to travel. I can't take him, to another country because
Right.
he won't eat any, goldfish, grapes, and chips is right now in milk.
That's all. That's
Is
really
it?
what his diet is limited to.
Yes.
So let me see, because like I said, I might be able to give you the name of somebody that could really help you, but you really didn't need an expert. You need it because he's 10.
Yes.
Lisa, if you want to email me your email address, I could give that to Monique.
All right, perfect.
That would be
Yes.
good. Thank
I'll
you.
send it to you right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So-
Because that's
You know,
that's the biggest thing now that you really need. And you know what? Improvement in that area could improve him could generalize to other areas too.
Yes,
Of
I
behavior. I
agree.
believe that.
I
Because
agree.
I'm going to be honest. I think getting him to try something under professional guidance will mean that he will get upset first.
Mm-hmm.
And that person who does that therapy will have to work through those behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my guess. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not trying to,
I
they
agree.
will have to work through resistance. And those people especially trained to do that.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it
You know-
takes the burden off you.
Yes.
yeah,
It's too much.
it's
just too much for you to do alone, I think.
I don't know what Davita was going to say a while ago, but I think that she deals with this stuff too.
Davita.
Oh, let's bring Davita into the discussion, and I'll also send you my email right now.
Okay,
Okay?
Davita, you might have some great things to offer.
That's a great idea.
Dee.
Well, I don't know that I have great things to offer, but I can go along with what others are saying. London, his eating is awful and it worries us sick. But
Oh, really?
yeah, a lot of it is the textures and that kind of stuff. And he will eat cheese pizza. This is his whole diet. I mean, everything: cheese pizza, French fries, and they have to be from certain places.
Yes.
He is a connoisseur of French fries, but they have to be from certain places.
Yes.
Right.
Red popsicles, almond milk, and what was the other thing and he was eating the baby food chicken, the chicken dinner. And we used to think at least he was getting vitamins from that. Well, now he's not having that at all. So when you are so limited on what they're eating, it drives you nuts because you're
It's
thinking,
difficult,
my gosh, they need to
say
have
the
more in their
least.
body, more nutrients, you know?
That's what I'm
And
saying.
so I
it's a huge
definitely,
problem.
I definitely can feel for all these people.
Yes.
Because it's very frustrating, and it just breaks your heart. But with behavioral, he is more very sensory, and on the spectrum, that's why it's a spectrum, because they're all different. Not one of them is the same, and that's why it's a puzzle piece, but they're wonderful, beautiful minds, I mean, it's so intelligent. And yet then you look and you think, oh, if I could just get through to you, that, to this, as far as like even eating. And I remember one time, I think he was like three or four, and he will have meltdowns. And when he has them, they're major. And now he's 10 and he's getting tall. Well, my daughter and her husband, I mean, they're not real big people. And at the time he was having a meltdown, and my daughter's husband was at work, and London started to have a major meltdown. And so I had to bear hug him I mean, and really hold on because he was flailing, you know, and everything. And I just kept holding, and he was screaming and flailing. And I just kept holding on to him.
Hard.
And then
Very hard.
eventually I just started whispering to him very softly in his ear. And he started to lessen. I mean, it took quite a while. And she's had to go around to the other neighbors and let them know that, you know, her son is on the spectrum. And so they don't, you know, call
Right.
and report it because of his
Right.
screaming. Sometimes it gets so bad.
Right.
But he finally did begin to calm down. But when they have these, and the one thing that I've learned from London is, you know, I used to, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth. I used to see kids like in the store, because I mean, I've worked in the stores, you know,
Right.
a lot of my life. And so you'll see kids sometimes start what we used to think was just being bratty.
That's right.
Right.
That's
Well,
right.
in fact, once you have a child of your own or a grandchild of your own that are on the spectrum and do have problems with extreme meltdowns, you look at it in a completely different light.
That's right.
You know, and you understand that this very possibly might not just be a tantrum. It might be something that this child, they cannot stop, you know, because I told
Yes.
Daisha, we were talking one day, I said, it's almost like he has to get to this one
Right.
point to where he is just losing it
He's got to
completely.
let it out in a sense, right?
When he has to feel that certain sensory to get to that point, you
Right.
know, and so that's what they're trying to work on right now. He is also in a special school. I feel very blessed that he got into this because it was very hard. And what the other ladies are saying is very true. When you're trying to get help, it's not easy.
No,
You
it
have to
isn't.
jump through hoops to get anything.
That's right.
Anything. And so my heart
Even
goes out to
today.
all of them, you
Right.
know. It really does. I mean, and I don't say that lightly because I'm living it as a grandmother. And it's
you
not
know-
only hard for the grandmother, but you're looking at your child having to
That's
deal with
right.
their child like this, you know.
That's right. And then the mother is always feeling responsible.
Yes.
Always. You're
Yes.
always you're the pivotal point in that family. You're that middle piece of that whole compass.
Right.
And it
Exactly.
all begins and ends with you. And it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
That's
It
why,
is.
Monique, I told you right off the bat, you have to know none of it is your fault.
No.
None of it. I know it's just not. But I have worked with a lot of kids like that, Davida, that I would get a sense that their physiology like needed to just get this energy out.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a certain sense, because
Yeah.
you know, I always talk about like what happened before the behavior, what happened after the behavior, what are those variables? But that doesn't account for the physiological state of the body, right?
Right. Exactly. And
The
when they're
thing
more
you can't
sensory,
touch.
they'll do that more too sometimes.
Right.
Because that's what they go off of.
Right.
Mhm.
You don't know what that is, that
Right.
intervening variable. We don't
Right.
have any way of touching it. That's why I said before, you can't take the feeling out of it and just treat the behavior. You really can't. Because what you need to do is you need to, when the kids calm, get an idea of what they feel like. You know, ask them what's going on. You know, as they get older, they can gain some insight too sometimes.
Exactly.
Find out what's going on, because ultimately you want to know why so you could make it better. You have to know why.
Yeah, and you
just
know
have to.
they're all, and you know the thing is with autistic children, I mean verbal, nonverbal, whatever, they all are such beautiful, really beautiful children, you know,
Yes.
and there's so much depth into them. You know, it's
People
just
don't know that.
amazing. Yeah, it's
People-
amazing.
Yeah, people, they have no idea. It's almost like I was saying this to somebody that I know whose child now is 22, and he was on the spectrum. I met him when he was 2.5. Now he's 22, right? He sounds like one of the, like if you combine the children that we're talking about, it would be him at a younger age, like a fabulous kid, just a fabulous kid.
Oh.
And you know, there were times when he was, you know, having tantrums like that.
Right.
But I said to his mother, that's not even what's supposed to happen in autism. So what is that? When you have these insightful kids, right? That have so much depth to them, we shouldn't even be calling them autistic anymore. You
Right.
shouldn't even, because they reach another category.
That's what Dacia says about London. She goes, Mom, I know he's just not autistic. She goes, I know it. She goes, I don't know what it is,
She's
but I know
probably
that
right.
it's more than
Like I
autism.
said to his mother, he's like a hybrid, but we
Yeah.
just don't,
Yep.
like, people don't always appreciate it because they don't see the depth, but it's so there that,
Right.
like, he's not in that mold. He just breaks it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and there are kids like that, you know, and your son too could be a child like that, Monique. You know, he's
And
still young.
I
He's-
agree. You know, I worked
Yeah.
with a woman whose son is now in his 30s and he has 2 master's degrees. I'm not worried about
Right. You're worried about feeding your
academically.
kid.
Exactly.
It's the
You're worried
food
about feeding your child.
and taking care of himself.
Exactly. Exactly,
You're
Monique.
right.
That's what we worry about too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know what? A lot of times these children that have these explosive behaviors, they're better off. I know this sounds bad. They're better off having them now because when they do, the chances of them having them later, these type of kids, I'm not talking about children that are nonverbal,
Can Muppets
that are a different
please?
category, they have a tendency to grow out of them more than children. You know, this like, you know what I'm saying? Like a child that has that amount of depth to them,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to get better as they get older.
Yes, I agree.
They smooth out. The road smooths out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good thing. Not always, but a lot of times they do.
Well, you know, that's what they told Dacia. They said, you know, a lot, and this is when he was only 4, because I remember us saying to each other, what? We got to wait till then. But they were saying that when they start to hit puberty, a lot of times things start to change.
Mm-hmm.
And behaviors begin to change and sensories begin to change and, you know, to the good a lot of times.
Right.
Maybe not always, but
Right.
sometimes it does, you know.
Yeah.
And I do see this happening with him. I do see him beginning to change in many ways to the positive.
Can I ask Davida, is he on any medication? Because medication has helped my son as far as, okay.
No, he was on medication. And it was awful. And it was terrible. Oh my gosh. He would drool and he would just sit there.
It
was awful.
Davida,
It was
let
awful.
me ask you a question.
We had him on the wrong medication. He was in the ER.
I have a question.
What?
Okay. Did they put him on medicine for kids with attention deficit disorder?
Yes.
Yeah, because
ADHD.
Because he's that way too.
And you know what? In the people in the field like me, and I'm not trying to brag, okay, but people that really have treated kids with autism for a very long time, we knew ages ago that most of the time it's a big mistake to put a kid on the spectrum on a stimulant.
Because they used to think it would work the other way.
But I'm telling you,
how
more
my
than
husband
20,
felt.
When I was a young woman in the field, like young, before I even had my kids, we knew you should not put a child on the spectrum on a stimulant medication. Why are they still trying it now? I'm going to give you a little insight.
That's how my husband felt. You know, back in the day, he was on what was it?
It just makes my stomach turn.
Not Risperdal. Well, the Risperdal.
No, Risperdal is not a stimulant.
No, Ritalin. Back in the
they
day.
tried that. Oh, that was a mess. That was a mess. God.
It makes me sick to hear it. I mean, I'm telling you, they should know better. They should know better by now. The research, it's who would do that?
But I'm telling you that
upset.
My husband was against it, right? Because he was on it as a child. So,
but he's not on the spectrum, so it's not going to work. It's not going to work the same. See,
but
children on the spectrum, their physiology is different.
We have put my son on Vyvanse and a mood stabilizer also, and it has helped with him paying attention.
Well,
and
I'm glad. Vyvanse is newer though.
Yes, Vyvanse is very new. Yes.
Monique, I'm interested for my grandson, but he's not on medication. one, he's a twin. The other one is that he's the exact opposite. He's dyslexic ADHD. So together
Yeah.
they're a bit of a
Medication will
phenomenon.
have a better effect on him.
Yes.
See, when you have a child on the spectrum and they
Yeah.
are inattentive, I'm going to just tell you that there's a difference, okay?
Mm.
When a child, if you observe the difference between a child with pure ADHD and a child who has autism and is inattentive, their behaviors are different.
Very. Complete opposite.
Their inattentiveness is much harder to detect than in a pure ADHD child. And I've seen it a lot because I've spent my whole career looking at children, looking right at them. I'll give you an example. A child with autism could be sitting on the carpet listening to a story that the teacher is reading with his head turned out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But he's listening to everything that the teacher is saying and understanding all of it, but he just doesn't look like he is.
Mm-hmm.
A purely ADHD kid is looking out the window too, but it's not getting any of it.
Yep.
Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that child with autism isn't inattentive, because there's times when that child is. But I'm saying to you, it's not coming from the same place physiologically. It might look the same. The child might miss out on certain things and be inattentive, but it's not coming from, their physiology is not the same as a purely ADHD kid. It's a symptom of autism that we can see, but it's not the same mechanism. If you give a stimulant to an ADHD child, if you give a stimulant to any child, they'll attend better. If I gave Ritalin to a typically developing child, they would even pay attention better. But if you give it to a child with autism, most of the time it will not work, and it will make that child hyper emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It will make them a mess.
But
And guess what? It does not improve attentiveness at all. It does not.
I found every child is different on the
But
spectrum.
Vyvanse
And
might
my
be different
son,
because Vyvanse is a newer class of drug.
yes.
And it's got I think it has a different mechanism than Ritalin. Like this Strattera, right? There's
Yeah,
other
it's not like
mechanisms.
Adderall. It's not the same.
Right. It could have a different mechanism of action, but Ritalin? Really?
Well, that's what my husband was on 30 years
Mhm.
ago, and that's
Mhm.
why he didn't want.
See, I hope
my
you're getting
son
my
to be on.
point. I really hope you're getting my point.
I'm getting it.
But you know what London has really
You there? Dee Dee?
I heard her.
I mean, and Monique, I'm glad that whatever combination of medication he's on is working. Because if you find the right thing, it's a blessing.
It is, but it's not helping, with the appetite, but it's helping as far as the stomach.
I was going to ask you, has anybody suggested an appetite, something to increase his appetite or anything like that?
No. Because the Vyvanse and because he's on a combination of the Vyvanse, the mood stimulate, and he's on like a PRN of Adderall, which are all appetite suppressants.
I was going to say that. Right.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
But even so, before being on the medication, he wouldn't, he'll eat pizza for, how much can you eat cheese pizza?
I know.
Right.
Before
but he did
you're
eat that before he was on the meds?
Yes.
So you had to give up, you had a trade-off, right?
Well, he goes in phases. It's like
that's
like
true.
bipolar almost.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Phases of this and that, and it's difficult is all I can say.
Yeah. Well, maybe hopefully I can help you out. I might have even had, I'm not positive, but I thought the person that I went to like a talk on this because I'm fascinated by this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he might have even been from Connecticut, but I don't want to promise that in case he's not, because he was great. But I'll find out for you.
Can I tell you the one thing I got knocked off?
Yeah.
I knocked myself off. Jeremy's trying to call me. But you know how that goes. When my son calls, it's a 2-hour conversation.
I love
so
him.
I can't do that right now. But the CBD oil that Daisha uses now, she'll say, London, do you need some calming? She calls it calming. She said, do you need some calming? And sometimes he'll say no, because again, I think he wants to feel that escalation. But sometimes she'll say, I really think you need calming. You guys, I cannot tell you how fast that stuff works. It is amazing.
Wow.
I just couldn't believe it. When she started, I went, Daisha, I can't believe this. She goes, I know. I mean, it's just crazy how fast it works on him. So you might look into that. Anyone that's not opposed to that.
Not at all. Hey,
I'm not
Vida,
opposed.
Yeah, I'm
Is
not
it
either.
just like a lotion, or
It's an actual. Well, what I can do is I can ask her exactly what
Usually
she gets,
it's
because she
drops.
gets real pure stuff, from somewhere. It's not cheap.
Usually it's drops that they put under your tongue.
Yeah, this isn't a drop because he won't take it. They tried that, but this is an actual oil, and and she rubs it on his feet, believe it or not, and behind on the back of his neck, and it's like magic. It's crazy.
I'm so interested in that,
It's
Davida,
crazy.
because we don't really have it in Australia much, but you can get a prescription now.
Oh, good.
And I'm glad you raised that, because we've heard of other people that have had terrific results with that.
Yes.
And they
if you
take
can
out
get
the tea.
definitely worth a try.
Yeah. I will get the name of it.
They take the THC out, and so it's just the what's the CBD? Which one? They take
it doesn't have the THC.
No.
It doesn't have that. It just has. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because we've completely forgotten. Monique, you would know. You look at things and think, I'm going to look into that, and then you hear something else and kind of almost overlook it again.
Yeah,
but
it's worth a try.
Oh, absolutely. And and Lisa, you're absolutely right with people just looking at ASD as one thing. It's
right.
There's so much brilliance in these kids.
Absolutely. I've had children that just bring me to tears, to see, because I've had them for so many years, and I've seen the development of the brilliance. And you know what? This young man that I'm very close to now, I don't treat him or anything, but I did when he was real little. He the teacher, I was the psychologist in the preschool where he was, right? That was my job at the time. He was 2.5 years old, and the teachers would walk him up and down the hall because they said they thought he was so low functioning. He didn't have functional language yet. He had language, but it wasn't anything functional. He would just sort of throw out words, And one day I said, and everybody I worked with, we were very close friends. So I was like, well, let me take him in my room. I'll take out a bunch of stuff and I'll work with him for a little while. And I found out that he was very smart, and he in fact could already read at the age of 2.5. And then I found out from his mom that she thought he could read at only like 18 months old. He would point to words and read. He was brilliant. And I said to my friends, you're making him nuts. He's bored.
Yes.
Don't be afraid. Yes. What he did was, like, he tried to climb out the window. He was climbing on the desks. He was climbing on the table. I said, you're making him bored. Do stuff with the kid. Yeah. And he just blossomed. I mean, and this is the same kid now he's going to grad school. He just started a master's program. But he just had behavior. He was bored. He just was climbing the walls, literally. Yeah. Just climbing the walls. But he went through process, though. It wasn't always that easy. It was not.
It's almost like they learn out of thin air.
That happens.
They just learn out of thin air, and I think where I'm trying to relax and understand is that, with, as I said to you, listening to younger adults who are on the spectrum but doing exceptionally well in life, just hearing how it was for them sort of gives a few little clues about what sort of the anxiety behind it all. There's a lot of anxiety in their behaviors because they don't have the maturity to understand their behavior yet. As they mature, they can say, okay, I don't like this. and I can't behave this way, like say working with a therapist, this is what I need to do in this situation, and people need to understand that. And that might be as simple as putting their headphones on and just not listening to all the noise.
Yes.
But until we get to that maturity where they can express it. So Monique, like I'm holding out all hope for you and me and Davita's grandchildren. I think that they could be exceptionally brilliant
Oh,
and
of course.
really
Yeah.
good citizens.
Yep.
And not also, I don't like calling people on either spectrum, the ASD or the dyslexic, which are both opposite emotionally. I don't like using the word disability, and a lot of young people don't,
No.
because it's they prefer the neurological how did they say it now? Neurological difference, and
Yeah, I know what I don't have the
which
word,
it's
but
sort of a neurological a neuro difference is
right.
or a neurodiversity. That's the main. The neurodiversity is a much nicer way. The young guys seem to like that better. And I agree, because I'm dyslexic ADHD, and I know I don't have a disability. I know where my strengths are, and but so we're going through a lot of change in terms of understanding and learning and respect for people with neurological diversity. And I really see a positive future for our kids, even though every day's hard, Monique. It's the
Yeah.
And
every
it's
day.
hard
You've
because you
got to
don't know
get
the
them
outcome.
there. That's
You know,
right.
right.
That's right.
You can't.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees.
It's scary, and it
Someone
breaks
was
your heart.
so,
It's like,
Lumpy
yeah.
Definitely.
Lumpy Space was saying that they've tried probiotics too, because some
Okay.
kids
A
have
lot of
trouble
kids
with
have
their
gut problems.
and that
A lot
sometimes
of
has
them.
helped. Mm-hmm.
I
But we're gonna
just
Yeah.
have
think
to
it's
wrap.
so strange. I'm sorry, Nana Patty, you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
But
wrap things up.
I just think it's so strange how growing up like Lisa, and Nana, Patty, I'm sure we didn't have the same problems growing up with
No.
children
No.
as we have now. And it's very interesting and strange to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I know. And we don't really know why.
yeah.
I did some research on. I mean, if you take a look at the back of the handout, if you can, I wrote a list of a lot of the workshops and presentations I've done on some of these interesting topics. So take a look at it. If you want me to do another one on another day, we can just it's kind of nice to throw out like some of the research in the area, because I tried to do some research even when I was in grad school for the second time, when I had the opportunity, on some interesting topics such as vaccines. I did a research paper on reproductive technologies and whether or not there was risk for autism. I did some research on the possible causes of why we have increases in autism. I did some research on clusters and things like that. So if we want to come back on another time and dig up one of those and start, I could go back and do some updated research on them, and then we could talk about other topics related. We could
Cool.
we could do that another time.
I would be very interested.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
me
I always
too.
learn something from you guys too.
I think
I
we all
think-
learn from each other,
Absolutely.
Oh, we need to.
Yeah.
That's how women's business is it's vital. That's how we discovered rubella, that
Yeah.
was it German measles that caused the
Birth defect.
yes. And that was just women sitting at their pediatric office in the waiting room here in Melbourne. And they were just saying, oh, well, I went to a birthday party and my cousin had German measles, or I went, someone
that
else
was
said,
scary back in
yes.
the day.
And those women, one of the women went into the doctor's office and said, he said, sorry for keeping you waiting. And she said, no, it was fascinating. There's 8 of us or whatever in the waiting room, and we all had contact or caught German measles while we were pregnant. Well, that was it. That was all it took. So women's business and sharing stories and listening to others is
Yes.
what
That's
we
right.
need to do.
That's
And I
why we
also,
always have, like, in schools, we have parent groups
yes,
because they need each other. People need each other.
yes,
They
yeah,
need it.
yeah.
And
But
it
I'm
was
going to
always
check
my favorite
the,
part of my job was always that. And that's why I think I'm enjoying this so much.
yep. So DD, I'm going to listen. I'm going to look at the CBD oil again, which
Yes,
I
and
know
I'll
my
get.
daughter's interested in.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I'll get the name and put it in my community post when I talk to my
thank
daughter.
you. I appreciate that a lot.
Awesome.
These little
Yeah.
things, they could mean a lot, right?
Yes.
Every little thing, like that piece of rice size food.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
They before we leave, Lisa D, they wanted an update on the bunny.
The bunny is great. She's upstairs under my bed sleeping. She's terrific. I'm really, really sad that she's going to leave on Tuesday. It's going to be really hard for me. If I'm upstairs, she's literally following me everywhere right now. And I just think she's the sweetest little thing.
She is.
She really is.
She is.
She's the best.
Doesn't she poop everywhere?
No,
No,
she
she's
goes
litter
in her
trained.
potty. She has a
What?
little potty.
Yeah.
Litter
Oh
box.
my God.
It's like a little triangle litter box, and she goes
Wow.
in there.
Oh,
And
that's
she's
amazing.
very clean, and she's very happy today because my husband and I have been home all day. So nobody's like going out or anything. So every time we go up there, she hops out from under the bed like, "Hi, you're home." Very cute.
Oh my God.
So,
Yeah.
Lisa and Nana, I can get Lisa's email through you, Nana.
I already sent it to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
and I'll
you.
see if we can find somebody in your area. I mean, I can't make any
Yes.
promises, but I'll do my best, okay? And I'll send it to you.
I appreciate it.
I'm so glad
Quite
you guys
welcome.
came on panel and everyone in chat. We love you all very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and I hope
Yeah.
that you got something out of this, and I'm looking forward to the second half.
Yeah.
Me too.
That we could talk about the rest
Yeah.
of what I have here. And you guys make it more interesting because I love talking about the kids. That's what it's
Yes.
all about. And the adults.
Yeah.
Adults too.
Yeah.
I love it.
If we can
Yeah,
help each other,
adults.
it's a great feeling.
We can go
Yeah.
into a whirlwind of adults.
Yeah, we'll try to do part 2 maybe next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, next weekend.
Although
would
it
be
is a
fine.
holiday weekend, so I don't know
Oh,
if
is that
anybody.
Labor Day?
Sad about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you could do it any Sunday that you want. You just let me know.
okay. Well, if it's fine with me to do it on Labor Day. I'm not going to be doing anything.
I'm not. I don't think I am either. So.
So it'll be fine. We could do it next Sunday.
Yeah. And I hope
Same
everybody
time.
got something out of it. I always
I
wish I
did.
could do more and do a better job, but
Oh, you're
I think it
wonderful,
was
Lisa.
pretty good. I think it
You're
was pretty
great.
good, right?
We all love
Thank you.
Well, I love you guys too, and you
Thank
guys
Lisa,
make it all fun.
Lisa, I just want to
appreciate-
say I'm so glad to see you over here, and Nana,
Thank
the
you.
channel's fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you so
yeah,
much. It is a
Thank you.
beautiful place.
it is really lovely. Really, you feel safe and you feel like you're amongst good friends. So
You are.
Right.
beautiful.
You are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
Thank-
I
And
appreciate
That's the way
thanks,
we like
DD and Monique.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
ladies.
You're
And I
welcome.
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
usually
you.
say a prayer to end.
Please do
Okay.
that.
Lovely.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say a
You do
prayer, and
such a
then we
good
will
job. I
end.
love when you do that.
And I will see you guys maybe middle of the week.
Okay.
Dear Heavenly Father, we pray for all of these people with their special needs, that you just hold these children and these mothers and these grandmothers and grandfathers and dads. Just hold them and let them know that you're there for them. Please heal these children. Please help them. There's so many needs in this world. Please heal our nation, our world.
That was a good
That was
way to end it.
beautiful. Thank you.
That's
Thank
a great
you.
way to end it, Nana Patty. Amen. Beautiful.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thanks guys for coming, and we'll
Yeah.
see you probably in the middle of the week.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love you
Love
too.
you.
Bye. I don't know where the button is.
It's